Okay, tagging back in. Sorry about that. Okay, Hansel and Gretel. Unbeknownst to them, she was a wicked witch who liked to eat children. And she built her candy house to lure children in. And, so she was prepared. She's like, yes, there's 2 of them. And so she looked at them. She's like, I just need to fatten them up a little bit and we'll be good. So in the morning, she's continuing to fatten them up. And then she's like, wait a second. I am tired of doing all this work. So I'm going to have Gretel do all my housework. And then I will cook Hansel in the oven first. So she locks Hansel in a cage before the kids are even awake and says to Gretel, all right, Missy, now you're going to do the housework. And Hansel and Gretel are like, oh, we've been tricked. It's a witch. But it's too late. So they are now, Hansel's being given a lot of food and he's getting quite plump. But the witch doesn't really see very well. So every day she's like, Hansel, stick your finger out of the cage so I can see how fat you are. And he finds a chicken bone on the floor of the cage. And he shoves it out the thing. And the witch feels the chicken bone and goes, still not enough meat. And so he lives a little longer. Meanwhile, Gretel's cooking and cleaning. She's gotten pretty strong. She's carrying all the firewood, stirring all the gingerbread, working pretty hard. But finally the witch is like a week passes and the witch is like, she cannot wait any longer. She is hungry. She needs flesh. She needs to eat some people. So the witch finally has Gretel get the stove ready and she opens the cage to put Hansel in but then she thinks to herself, Gretel also would be pretty tasty. So she's going to have both of them at the same time and then she'll have leftovers. So she's like, all right, Gretel, dear, would you open the stove and poke your head in to see if it's hot? And Gretel knows what she's up to and goes, I don't know how to do that. And the witch is like, what? She's like, I don't know how to put my head in a stove and check. Would you show me? And the witch is like, okay. So the witch goes over to the stove and leans her head in and goes, just like this. And while she's leaning over the stove, Gretel, the little maniac that she is, pushes her in and slams the door and then busts Hansel out of prison. And then when they're looking around, they're like, let's see if we can find any food here or any recipes or anything important. So they're going around the witch's house and they find all this money and they're like, this is great. So they take all of the witch's stuff and they go back home. And in some stories, they find a duck and the duck ferries them across the river. And in some stories, the mom is gone. In my story, the mom is still there. So they get home with all this money and they're like, Mom, Dad, we're safe. And the mom and dad are like, yay, we don't have to watch each other starve to death anymore. And they all live happily ever after. Now, in some stories also, the stepmother is also the witch. And she brought the children out there so she could munch on their flesh later. Depends on which story you're after. I like the happily ever afters myself. I'm a big fan of happily ever after. All right, have a good day. Cav out.